This is war, and these are the results of people who have gone through these gruesome events.
Overseas, that was the most nervous I've ever been before. We're actually going into food. There's a bunch of really bad stuff happening. Carrying out all the wounded people was really kind of demoralizing. With our modern technology, we're able to actually see what's happening internally. And what we find is that people with PTSD react differently, especially to traumatic reminders, than do people without PTSD. Specifically, the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that has evolved for alerting the organism to life-threatening situations for the individual who has PTSD, is much more active. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that basically reins in the amygdala, is often offline. And the hippocampus, which is a part of the brain that basically sets the trauma in a context that can be remembered, is also hypoactive. So that what you have is essentially, in neurocircuitry terms, a perfect storm.
Good evening, Corporal Mitchell. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for the interview.
Yes, I'd like to start off with a quick question about the target age and gender of the civilians that the military recruits.
Well, our target age is 18 to 22, usually male, but females are catching up for now. They are more interested in the military and can have much more responsibilities.
All right. What are the physical and mental requirements to be in the military?
Well, for physical requirements, we do a PT test or physical training test to see their limits. For mental requirements, we make the recruit go through a physiological test to make sure there aren't any mentally incapable people joining.
All right. When you say mentally incapable, what do you mean by that? How do you define that?
Those who can't handle any traumatic situation like basic training or confronting an enemy with a lethal force.
So to make sure they don't get PTSD or anything like that, right?
Correct.
All right. How do you convince someone who's unsure of joining the military to actually join the military?
We usually go over the positive parts of the military, such as the benefits for during your contract and after you retire. That usually what seals the deal.
Okay. Do you ever go over the risks of PTSD with the recruit?
Well, yes and no. We tell them it's possible but very unlikely. But we barely touch that subject and keep the details out so we don't scare them away.
All right. Thank you very much, Corporal. I appreciate giving up some of your time for this interview.
Yes, thank you for being interested in the military.